how 3 kitty cats changed everything for one of my home selling clients. Why waiting until the last minute to get ready to sell your home is a disaster.
And I mean, like, good morning, everybody.
Would you intentionally wait until the day before needed surgery to call the surgeon's office?
No.
Hey, have you guys got any openings tomorrow?
Absolutely not. Because you know it's going to take at least 90 days to get into that guy.
Wait. You don't have any openings tomorrow? Fine, I'll call a surgeon who does.
Oh,
does that
good.
happen in real estate?
It does. You mean you can't meet me today and have this on the market today? Oh, sorry.
Gang, Jeremy Larkin here with Jesse Paul. Larkin Group KW Realty. I cannot tell you. I'm going to tell you a story about 3 kitty cats and a home, and the day that, and some of our listeners have heard the story that I actually bought the client's home. I actually moved into the home, not before I bought it, but I cannot tell our listeners how often we will get a phone call based on the most important most important kind of life strategy besides death, divorce, and having babies that most people will make, which is to sell a home and move.
Yeah.
And they will call. And I mean, Jesse, we've had people call that if we don't call them back in an hour, they call another agent.
Yeah. Well, even 15 minutes I've seen.
We had a gal call us from downtown St. George 2 weeks ago, called right in, looked us up, saw our reviews, called us, hey, we're vetted on Google. Literally, they've done a background check. And she said, hey, I'm going to sell this place downtown St. George. I want to visit with you guys. Mia took the phone call. And I said, Mia, I would really like to come to that appointment because I live downtown and I want to get clear about this. So she had set the appointment about 4 days out on a Wednesday. We called the gal and said, hey, we actually need to move that earlier or later on Wednesday because I'm going to be gone to a Bryant Head town meeting.
Yep.
So we did about a 10-minute, what we call a requalification. And this is where I verify that we have all the information so we can help her. She said, actually, you know what? This is better. Wednesday's totally jammed up. I'm only off on Wednesday. So I was thinking, here we go. She said, can we meet the next Wednesday? Sure. She said, what about 2:00? Sure. The next day, Mia gets a phone call. Yeah, I just listed with another agent. So, that was disappointing because obviously, unbeknownst to most people, I'm teasing this sarcasm, we do get paid only when we sell something, right? Real estate. We don't get paid. Right. I don't get paid to produce the 100 free valuations I do for clients a year. We don't get paid to answer questions on the phone. We don't bill hourly. But here's the worst part. Isn't that I didn't get paid, Jesse. It's that the default methodology that I'm assuming, to be fair, this guy went through is, I'm feeling itchy to sell my home. And so I'm going to meet with the people who said they'd just come out Wednesday. Whoa. Wow.
Yeah. Or
this is your home.
I'm going to meet with the guy that says he'll actually be here when I want him here.
Yeah.
The problem with that is the very, very best are busy.
Correct.
The people that are maybe not always so good, they got all the time in the world. Yeah.
I'll be there in 3 minutes. Jesse, speaking of being there in 3 minutes, I wasn't there in 3 minutes, but I got a phone call. And her name was Grace Codwise. I'll definitely use Grace's name. She moved to Colorado long ago, and I believe she has passed away. I didn't stay in touch the way I wanted to. I couldn't get her on the phone. And then I started getting mail forwarded to my new home later. But she was 94 years old when we met. And so, listen, that was almost 8 years ago. So that's why I believe she's passed away.
Yeah.
She calls me and says, I heard your radio ads. I love Gary LaVox. This is when we had this Gary LaVox endorsement.
The jingle.
Yeah. And she said something about him being cute. This is a true story. This is the lead singer of Rascal Flatts. And she said, I need to sell my home. And I was going through a divorce.
Yep.
I say a divorce, my divorce. There weren't many. There was one.
Yeah.
And this is for our show today is really for somebody, especially for somebody thinking of downsizing, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody who has a major change, right? And because this was a downsize for me. And
right.
She calls me and says, hey, we're going to sell our home, my daughter and I. But the problem is she's 72, I'm 94, and we have 3 cats, and we don't know how we're going to show the home. I said, where's your home? Well, it's 144 South, 200 West. I said, oh, I'm 2 blocks away right now. I had something going on, but I could meet her early afternoon, so I went out. I walked through the house. Colors were disastrous. I'm going to say it, man. And 3 cats. 3 cats is a lot. And it was pretty full of things. And I said, I got a question for you. What if I just bought the house? And man, to say that her eyes lit up. And this is a true and factual story. And I said, look, I'm going through a major life change that I wouldn't really bring to an appointment, but I'm going to bring it up now. And this is tough. I have 4 kids. I've got, young teen boys and older teen boy and girl. And this is tough. People navigate this. Over 50% of America navigates this. And so I said, what if we just got a third-party appraisal and I'll just pay you an appraised value for your home? And we did, and I did, and they were delighted. They never had to show the home.
Didn't have to clean it up.
Didn't have to clean the home. There was nothing. They moved out. I went and cleaned pallet. I installed shutters, full repaint. I mean, it was awesome, right? And so, the thing that I would say, Jesse, is while I can't buy everyone's house, one thing I can tell you is I will never forget the relief that I saw in her when she could stop worrying.
Yeah.
How afraid are people that if they call a real estate agent, they're going to sell them something?
Oh, it's pretty big. It's actually probably one of the biggest reasons why people wait till the last minute. Mm-hmm. Aside from that's how we live now, but I can't tell you how many times I get we're not ready to meet yet. No, we're not ready to meet yet. We're not ready to sign yet. I'm like, sign? We're just building a plan.
Yeah.
We're so afraid. And in life, unfortunately so, right? Because we're in such a fast-paced life, they're afraid that if they start planning too much, they're going to be pressured to move too fast or do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love that.
Our primal protection is safety.
Yep.
How do I keep myself safe?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. So people are freaked out. They're afraid they're going to get sold a bill of goods. And honestly, I bet in some cases they do.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. And then we find ourselves picking up the pieces for people who are not playing with integrity, but I can't do anything about that, right? What we can do is treat this business with the honesty and the respect in people's lives that it deserves, right?
And even deeper than that, maybe it's not even about integrity. Maybe it's about just not realizing what do they want.
I love this.
How do we go at their pace? How do we do exactly what meets their needs?
Well, let's talk about this, Jesse. Why sellers wait and why that's risky, right? Because again, we opened the show today with a story of 3 kitty cats scaring my client into saying, I don't even know if I can sell my home. How am I going to show my home? One thing I left out is they said the cats bolt out the door when people come and go.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the reasons people wait? What are the fears that come up?
So a big one for somebody is, where will I go? Mm-hmm. Or, what if I'm not ready when I call you? What if I don't want to move right away? In a good scenario of that, of the first one of, man, where will I go? So what we see commonly and how this comes back to bite him in the butt is, where will I go? I cannot do this before I know where I'm going to go. So they go and they find a house and they put it under contract.
Well, let me even pause this really quick. They find a house and realize they're going to lose the home they love. Yep. So then they do something like put it under contract.
Put it under contract.
Contingent on selling their current home.
Their current home. And now they've got to come back home and go, okay, I've got to have this on the market in a couple days. And they're not ready. They don't even know what the home is worth, but they've already put a price tag on it because they bought a home based on what they thought. Mm-hmm. And okay, I need $600,000 out of my house.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's
newsflash. Yeah, it's worth 540.
And it's worth 540. No, it doesn't matter, Jesse. I need 600. That's what I need. So we need to find that buyer.
I want our listeners to envision what that stress feels like. You're cruising along, you find the home that's going to fit for your family. There's two scenarios. Mm-hmm. If you have a family, kids at home, you're not like going to an assisted living or whatever, you find that something that's perfect for your family. Or you have a health crisis and you slip and fall and your spouse is elderly, you're elderly, you have to go to assisted care, you find the place you want to go. We met with our great friend Brad Oliverson yesterday. He owns The Haven in Hurricane. It's a beautiful assisted care facility. What did he say? Most of the people who end up there right after what?
An accident.
An accident.
After getting hurt.
They don't say, I've been thinking for 5 years about coming to your facility. They have an accident, they get hurt, they have a stroke, they fall, and suddenly their kids have to commit. So I'm going to set this up. Yeah, you're in one of these scenarios. So if you're going there, you find, hey, we can keep your reservation for 60 days, but you need to now, you're elderly, fix up your entire house, sell it, and come over to get the money. Yeah. Or if you're a move-up buyer, a family, and now you have a home, you put a home under contract, you now need X. Well, I don't know if folks knew this or not. Markets don't do things based on needs.
They don't.
I also a lot of you needed the stock market to not crash. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And so can you imagine what this feels like?
So, and one of those came from not planning it, right? Now the accident, they couldn't do anything about that, but it's definitely going to cause stress. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely going to cause us to have to move a lot faster than we wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't know it was coming.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I want to say is when you meet, even if you're a year out, we talked about this on, our previous show, like how far out is too far. And I said, a year's not too far. And Jesse's like, 2 years is not too far.
Well, and the reason I said that is because we live in an area that people move here, people retire here, people want to be here. They start thinking about it years sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why, Jesse, that's in my mind.
Let's talk about what a low pressure conversation looks like.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is no contracts. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to meet with a client. As a matter of fact, I'm selling a property. We're going to photograph I'll have James in there. He is a phenomenal architectural photographer. I'll have him in Saturday, and these places are moving. People are moving out of just a little small place called Vista Ridge. These are really small, 55 plus. It's a downsize. They're moving to Provo. All of their kids and grandkids and greats live there.
Yeah. And
I've met with them twice. I didn't take a contract first visit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were startled by that, but I said, hey, there's nothing to sign. What are you guys doing? We then talked for 6 weeks after the first appointment. Getting ready, thinking about it, getting ready to get ready, drove 2 loads up to Provo. Then when I went to the home the second time, we had a full-blown discussion about whether they wanted to buy or rent when they moved. They still weren't sure, right?
Yeah.
So Jesse, it's no pressure, no contracts, just questions. Okay, what else? What would be the next step?
Optional walkthrough and explanation of your goals.
Yeah, well, I think and what's funny is I say optional in our notes, but it ain't optional.
No, we walk through and then we explore their goals and figure out, okay, what really needs to happen.
Yep.
And in what time frame, in what order.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is not really optional, but I guess when I said optional, I'm referring to if you came to our office and we hadn't been here.
A fair way to say that the walkthrough is not mandatory right at that moment.
Mm-hmm. One of the conversations we're going to have is recommendations for support professionals. What are support professionals? Carpet cleaners, organizers, handymen, right?
Yeah, house cleaner.
House cleaners, estate planners. Mm-hmm. And, we've been developing a little something for the downsizers and empty nesters of Southern Utah, which is called the Legacy Living Blueprint. And I have a version of it I could give to you today, but I don't want to give it to you until it's finally edited, and you're going, if you're in that mode, you're going to love this document. It is like step by step, right? And, Jesse, I think the importance in that low pressure conversation is people aren't committing to anything.
Right.
We're talking about what matters most. All right. Let's move forward here. We've set this up to say people get themselves into trouble because they wait until the last minute.
They wait till the last minute to bring on a team, somebody to work with them,
and
to be their team.
And in our last show, we talked about waiting to the last minute to do our taxes.
Yep.
And we're kind of excited about a little something we got cooking, right? Which is our cash CPO program.
That's going to be phenomenal.
So this really, can I allude to this a little bit?
Yeah, do.
We're going to have a wonderful guest on. Her name is Rowena Patton. She's a British lady and one of my good friends since 2012. We have been affiliated and networked through the real estate world. She's on the East Coast. She's actually in Asheville, North Carolina. But we are working with her on developing a program which alleviates something. It is a program by which not technically us, but our investor partners can purchase your home, get you the cash you need to either purchase, go to offer on the next home, non-contingent, or if that's like somebody just moving across, or if you're downsizing like to assisted care, make your deposit and your reservation at the facility you're moving to with zero stress. We move you out. Our contractor touches up, spruces up. Typically, we're seeing a 5 to 10% increase in value in the home after we've done this.
Right.
You're not there for showings. It is all done without you in the home. And then we process this whole thing out. And, there's a few other steps so you can make this transition. It is so very cool. It is a certified pre-owned selling program. And look, I am so funny when we speak to people at like in assisted care facilities, we're talking management. They're going, oh my gosh, this is exactly what our people need.
Yeah.
They come in, they slip and fall, and they go, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to prepare our home? We want to move over, but we can't move over. And then the adult kids get incorporated into the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so
it gets complicated and it gets stressful.
So look, if you're planning on selling in the next 6 to 12 months, let's just say 6 to 12 months. If you want to have the no pressure conversation, let's have it. One of the cool things I do is I've got an online, just like grab time with me, ask me anything link that we provide. And, we allow people to just grab time. And this doesn't even have to be a walkthrough. This could be a 15-minute phone call where I'll tell you, what do we got for time, Mel? About how long? She's looking. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. I want to tell you a quick story. So I like old homes, as does Jesse. What year was yours built?
1922.
Yep. And mine's 60, and I sold a 66, and I sold an 1865.
That was a cool house.
It's a cool house. And I drove by it yesterday with my son, and he said, hey, how's it going over at the Miles house? Do you know if those people like it? And I said, I have no idea. It's a short-term rental, actually. It's historic home. I said, all I know is my life has been significantly better since I didn't have to think about that anymore. And that's a separate show that we're going to do on short-term rental owners who are frustrated because rents have dramatically dropped in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that. We have a lot of our clients who are saying maybe it's time to sell. So I bought, my next home was 1960. It's a mid-modern. It's very, very cool. But there is a swimming pool in the backyard that, it doesn't just need a replaster. I decided it probably needed to be redone. I had 2 different contractors come through, and the conversation is about building a pool inside of the pool. So the it's a rectangular pool, but it's big. It would literally actually be building a new pool within the pool. Wow. So I'd lose about a foot on each side, each end, and underneath for the rebar and the new gunite. And here's what happened. I went from, I really need to do this. I really need to do this for 2 years to, I need to talk to somebody to, I was ready to literally finance a pool rebuild in my head. And so I had one of the contractors come back and we talked on Tuesday. And I said, tell me about the design work you do. And he has a company called Onyx Design. You can look them up, Onyx. And they do a full, they'd come into a yard like mine and say, listen, before you ever start on this job, it's going to be, by the way, it's going to cost me if I do it, like an interior designer. But we're literally going to map out the entire process. What's going to happen? Where are we going to cut the concrete? What's going to go in this end of the yard? What's going to go into that end of the yard? Where are we going to access with the tractor? This is fully planning out. And what I determined after all was said and done is this is a next year project, which means I will pay them in phases to start the design. And, Jesse, the relief that washed over my body. Now, look, if you need to move tomorrow, this isn't the same for you. This is an optional pool rebuild at my home. But I think it's interesting that we can actually do the same thing for people, which is we can plan this way. Here's the cool part. We don't charge you anything.
Yeah.
Literally thousands, Jesse, to work with these guys.
Yeah.
Like to do all the phases, over $12,000.
Okay.
In planning, in design. If you did all 3 phases. What do you charge your clients when they wanted to start talking about real estate a year out?
Nothing.
What about 6 months out?
Nothing.
What about a month out?
0.
Oh, yeah. So bizarre, right?
Yeah.
This is an industry where we only get paid when the job is done.
Yeah. When we actually do the job of selling your house, we will be.
So I do want you to reach out, guys. Reach out via gostgeorge.com or Google the Larkin Group. You can just grab some time and let's visit. Let's talk about the pool. Let's talk about the old equipment. We're using the pool as a metaphor. Let's talk about the wall that needs to be broken down to bring a track hoe in. Let's do this for your real estate planning and get you ready. Even here's a fun part. Especially for your empty nesters, Jesse, who you said, well, they don't always have the choice because they slip and fall or whatever, and they have to go to assisted care. However, you can plan.
Yeah. What would it look like if you actually had that plan in place?
Yeah. Like here's our contingency plan. This was, you have your will, you'd have your trust, you'd have all that documented. And then you'd say, here's the game plan if and when one of us passes away, spouses, or there's a health crisis. How amazing would that be for people?
Right.
Guys, don't end up with 3 kitty cats and you don't know where they're going to go because they're going to escape during showings and then Jeremy has to buy your house. I ain't buying every house. However, we have an investment group that may. Jesse, thank you. This is Jeremy Larkin.
Jesse Paul.
Larkin Group, KW Realty. So grateful to just be in this community. And, it's fun to be paid to help people solve this really, really emotional, complex problem. I think we're over now, Jesse.
All right. Thanks for having us,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye-bye.